My mom died on a Tuesday. By Friday, my brother was driving her car, wearing her watch, and telling my daughter that grandma's love can't be measured in money. I knew then. Something was wrong. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just said, "When's the reading of the will?" And my brother froze. That was the first sign. Because normal families don't hide funerals and lawyers like state secrets. Normal families don't tell you the will is just a formality. Normal families don't let a 6-year-old overhear whispers about who really deserves it, while passing mashed potatoes at the wake. I stood in my mother's kitchen, staring at the woman who raised me laid out in framed photographs, smiling forever in static glass, while my brother poured himself another drink and laughed too loudly. And I thought, this isn't grief. This is theater. And I'm about to burn the whole stage down. My brother, Daniel, has always been the miracle. Mom's miracle. When I was 7 and he was 4, she called him my little king. She brushed his hair, cut the crusts off his sandwiches, and hung his stick figure drawings on the fridge like they were museum pieces. Me? I was the responsible one. That's what she always called me. Not the smart one. Not the funny one. The responsible one. You know what that means in families like ours? It means you grow up raising yourself. I was the one making my own school lunches at 9, ironing my own uniform at 10, helping her fill out tax forms she didn't understand. Meanwhile, Daniel forgot to feed the dog and got rewarded with kisses for trying his best. I used to tell myself it didn't matter. That when we grew up, life would even out. That one day she'd look at me and see me. I was wrong. Because Daniel never stopped being the golden child. When he dropped out of college after 2 semesters, she told everyone he was taking time to explore his passions. When he crashed her car drunk at 19, she laughed at the police report and said, "Boys will be boys." And when I graduated with honors and landed my first real job, she missed the ceremony. Daniel had a cold, she said. I should have left then. Cut them both off. But I didn't. Because no matter how old you get, there's still this stupid, aching part of you that wants your mother to choose you. So when she called me 3 months ago, voice trembling, saying, "Sweetheart, I'm sick. I need you," I came. I left work, drove 3 hours, and held her hand in that sterile hospital bed. She cried. Told me she was sorry. Said we'd make things right. I believed her. And now, standing in her kitchen after the funeral, watching Daniel joke with her lawyer in the corner, I realized something. I wasn't just left out of her will. I was erased. The lawyer came on Saturday. Not in an office, not with mahogany chairs and brandy glasses like in movies, he came straight to my mother's house. He set his leather briefcase down on the dining table, the same one where I used to do math homework while Mom stirred soup in the kitchen. The room was silent. Too silent. Only the wall clock ticked, each second like a hammer drop. "Both heirs are present?" the lawyer asked. I opened my mouth to say yes, but Daniel cut in. "Actually, no." He said it so casually, like he was commenting on the weather. "What the hell do you mean?" I snapped, turning toward him. The lawyer cleared his throat, hesitated, then opened the folder. And there it was. My mother's handwriting. Those sharp, deliberate strokes I'd recognized since childhood. "Your mother made changes to her will," he said, 3 months ago. In the presence of a notary. My stomach dropped. 3 months ago. That was exactly when she called me crying from the hospital bed, telling me she was sorry, that we would make things right. I'd believed her. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. The revised document states that all assets, the house, the accounts, the personal property, pass solely to Daniel Carter. Solely. That word sliced through me sharper than any insult my mother had ever hurled. I stared at Daniel. He didn't even look ashamed. He was smirking, like he'd been waiting for this moment all his life. The lawyer kept talking, something about debts, something about final wishes, but I wasn't listening. My ears were roaring. All I could see was my mother's face, 3 months ago, whispering, "Trust me. We'll fix this." She hadn't been fixing anything. She'd been erasing me. I forced my voice to stay steady. "Why?" The lawyer blinked. "Pardon? Why would she cut her own daughter out of her will?" He shifted uncomfortably, eyes darting toward Daniel. "I'm not authorized to speculate." But Daniel leaned back in his chair, folded his arms, and smiled. "Because you're not really her daughter." The room went silent. The clock ticked. And I swear, for a second, the air itself stopped breathing. The words hung in the air like smoke. "You're not really her daughter." For a moment, I thought Daniel was just being cruel. The kind of venom he'd always spat when Mom wasn't around to protect him. But the lawyer didn't flinch. He didn't correct him. He just shifted in his seat, eyes fixed on the papers in front of him, like if he looked at me he might combust. "What did you just say?" My voice cracked. Daniel leaned forward, elbows on the table, grinning like a child about to unwrap a secret toy. "Mom told me. Months ago. You were never hers. She took you in because she felt sorry for you. Pity. That's all." I laughed, sharp, hysterical. "That's insane. I look exactly like her." But even as I said it, doubt flickered. Did I? Or had I just convinced myself I did? The high cheekbones, the narrow eyes, I'd always thought they were hers. But maybe I'd been seeing what I wanted to see. The lawyer cleared his throat. "I should clarify. Your mother requested a private letter be read aloud only in the event of a dispute." Given the circumstances, he pulled a sealed envelope from the folder. My chest tightened. He broke the wax seal, unfolded the letter, and began to read. "If you are hearing this, then Catherine is contesting the will. My daughter, I owe you the truth. I took you in when you were 3 years old. Your biological parents were close to me once, but they could not raise you. I promised I would protect you, and I have. But blood matters, and I must keep what is mine with my own son." The words blurred on the page. "Not mine. Not mine." Over and over. Daniel was smirking, soaking in every second. I couldn't move. My hands were cold, my legs numb. 3 years old. No memory of anyone else. My whole life, my whole identity, rewritten in a single paragraph. The lawyer folded the letter back carefully, like it wasn't a bomb that had just detonated in the middle of my chest. Daniel spoke again, low and smug. "Face it, sis. You were always the charity case. Mom just finally admitted it." And that was the moment something inside me snapped. Because if my mother had lied about this, what else had she buried? I didn't sleep that night. Daniel had gone off celebrating his new kingdom, drunk on whiskey and self-righteousness, while I lay awake in my childhood room, staring at the ceiling. Not her daughter. The words replayed in my skull like a stuck record. At 3 in the morning, I couldn't take it anymore. I got up, padded through the dark hallway, and pulled down the creaky attic ladder. Dust rained over me as I climbed. The attic was just as I remembered, boxes stacked like tombstones, the air thick with mothballs and forgotten years. My mother never threw anything away. She'd saved every school project, every broken lamp, every receipt in case the warranty people came asking. If there was proof, it had to be here. I dug through boxes, my hands shaking. Old Christmas decorations, my baby clothes, photo albums. And then, near the back, a metal box with a rusted lock that had already been forced open once. Inside were papers. Yellowed, fragile, bound with a ribbon. The first one I unfolded wasn't in English. Romanian. My mother's native tongue. The ink was faded, but I could still make out names. Dates. A birth certificate. My birth certificate. Only the mother's name wasn't hers. It was a name I'd never seen before. My chest tightened. I flipped through more papers, hospital records, letters, legal documents with signatures that weren't my mother's. And then, tucked between them, a single photograph. A woman. Young. Dark hair, tired eyes. Holding a child. Me. My hands trembled so badly I almost dropped it. On the back, in my mother's handwriting, 4 words, "She can never know." The air went cold. My pulse roared in my ears. Why? Why raise me, lie to me, call me daughter for 30 years, only to erase me in the end? I shoved the papers back into the box, clutching the photograph like it was the last piece of me that was real. And in that moment, I understood something chilling. This wasn't just about inheritance. This was about a secret my mother had taken to her grave. And Daniel knew more than he was saying. By noon the next day, the photograph was still burning a hole in my pocket. I hadn't eaten. My head throbbed from lack of sleep, but all I could think about was those words scrawled in her sharp, familiar handwriting, "She can never know." Except now I did. Daniel was sprawled on the couch when I stormed into the living room, sipping coffee like a king surveying his kingdom. "Tell me what you know," I said. He didn't even look up. "About what?" "Don't play games with me, Daniel." "The will. The letter. The fact that Mom lied about who I am for 30 years. What the hell do you know?" He smirked, finally meeting my eyes. "So you found it. The box in the attic. Figures. You were always the nosy one." My hands clenched into fists. Who was she? The woman in the photograph? For a moment, something flickered across his face, annoyance, hesitation, maybe even guilt. Then it hardened. She was nothing. A mistake. Mom saved you from her. Save me? My voice cracked. She lied to me. She cut me out of her will. She left everything to you, like I never existed. He leaned forward, his voice low, venomous. Because you don't. You were never supposed to be here. Mom told me the truth before she died. Your mother, your real mother, was one of Dad's flings. Some desperate woman who got pregnant. Mom couldn't have more kids after me, and instead of letting the scandal destroy our family, she took you in. Out of pity. Out of shame. You were never her daughter. You were her cover-up. The room tilted. My knees buckled, but I refused to sit down. You're lying, I whispered. Daniel shrugged. Believe whatever makes you sleep at night. But face it, you were baggage. Mom carried you long enough. At the end, she gave me what was rightfully mine. His words sliced through me sharper than the lawyer's reading. Rightfully mine. Like love, like inheritance, like family itself had always been his birthright. I felt something hot rising in my chest, rage, grief, betrayal all tangled together. You think this makes you the winner? I spat. You think because you got the house and the car and the bank account, you've won? No, Daniel. You've inherited her lies. And I'm going to rip them apart piece by piece until everyone sees what she really did. His smirk faltered. Just for a second. And in that second, I knew. He wasn't telling me everything. There was more. Something darker. I couldn't breathe in that house anymore. The walls felt like they were listening, soaked in lies. So I left. Drove until the city turned into farmland, until I could pull over at a gas station and sit in the car with the photograph in my lap. Her face. My real mother. Tired eyes, but soft. Holding me like I was something worth saving. If what Daniel said was true, then she was my father's fling. A scandal buried under decades of silence. But if that was true, why the papers? Why the secrecy? Why the words she can never know? If she was nothing, then why did my mother spend 30 years pretending otherwise? I needed answers. And the only place left was my father's side of the family. I hadn't spoken to my Aunt Meredith in 10 years. My father's sister. She lived 2 towns over, in a weather-beaten farmhouse with peeling paint and a yard full of rusted cars. I almost turned back twice. But when she opened the door and saw me, she froze. Her eyes went straight to the photograph in my hand. "You found it," she whispered. I didn't even have to explain. She knew. Inside, over the bitter smell of coffee and the sound of an old clock ticking, she told me everything. My father had been married to my mother for 6 years when he started seeing another woman, a young nurse who worked nights at the hospital. That nurse got pregnant. With me. "He begged your mother to raise you as her own," Meredith said quietly. "He said it was the only way to save their marriage, their reputation. And she agreed. But she never forgave him. And she never forgave you for being proof." My stomach twisted. "So she hated me." Meredith shook her head. "Not hate. Resentment. A reminder she couldn't escape. She told herself she was protecting you, but deep down, you were a scar she had to see every day." I gripped the table so hard my knuckles went white. "Then why cut me out of the will now? Why erase me?" Meredith hesitated. Her eyes darted to the window, as if the fields outside might be listening. Then she leaned closer. "Because of Daniel," she whispered. "Because she found out the truth about him." My pulse spiked. "What truth?" Meredith's face was pale. "He's not your father's son." The room spun. "What?" She nodded grimly. "Your mother had her own affair. Years after you came. Daniel isn't blood either. She rewrote the will to keep the Carter estate pure, to pass only to her child. Her only child. Which means..." Her voice broke into silence. "Which means the inheritance, the house, everything Daniel thought he'd won, wasn't his either." I drove back to the house with my hands clenched so tightly on the steering wheel that the skin split under my nails. My aunt's words wouldn't stop echoing. "He's not your father's son either. Daniel wasn't the golden child. He wasn't even blood." When I walked through the door, he was in the kitchen, feet kicked up on the counter, drinking from Mom's favorite glass like he owned the world. "Get your filthy shoes off her counter," I snapped. He raised his eyebrows, amused. "You're awfully bold for someone who just got written out of history." I dropped the photograph and the documents onto the table. They scattered like knives across the surface. "Funny," I said, voice sharp. "Because history doesn't have your name in it either." For the first time, his smirk faltered. "What the hell are you talking about?" I slid the papers toward him. "Birth certificates. Records. The photograph. You want the truth? Here it is. Mom wasn't protecting me. She was protecting you. Because you're not Dad's son. You never were. You're the product of her affair. Which means you don't have a claim to a single brick of this house." The color drained from his face. He grabbed the papers, scanning them with frantic eyes, then shoved them back toward me. "Lies," he hissed. "Forged. You made this up." "Did I?" I leaned closer. "Ask yourself why she rewrote the will. Why she cut me out. She wasn't giving you everything because you deserved it. She was trying to cover her own shame. You and me, Daniel, we're both bastards. Just from different sins." He shot to his feet, knocking over the chair. "Shut up." I didn't. I couldn't. 30 years of silence burned in my throat. She spent her life pretending we were hers. You, the golden boy. Me, the charity case. And in the end, she still couldn't face the truth. She tried to bury us both. He was shaking now, his fists balled, his face twisted. "You don't get it. She loved me. She chose me. She never wanted you. And yet," I said, my voice deadly calm, "you're the one who was never his son." Silence. Heavy. Cracking. Daniel's chest heaved like he might break. His hand darted out, grabbed the photograph of my birth mother, and for a second I thought he would tear it in half. But he didn't. He just stared at it, his face collapsing into something I'd never seen before. Fear. Because the golden child had just realized his crown was made of ash. The explosion didn't stop in that kitchen. It spread like fire. Within a week, Daniel was unraveling. The lawyer called me twice, voice tight, asking for clarifications about the documents I'd handed over. Apparently, once questions of legitimacy are raised, the entire will becomes a battlefield. DNA tests. Court orders. Judges. Daniel tried to bluff his way through it. Told anyone who would listen that I was lying, forging records, desperate for attention. But the cracks showed fast. Because when the lawyer pressed him for his birth certificate, he couldn't find it. Neighbors started whispering. Old family friends suddenly remembered how Daniel never quite looked like Dad. How his eyes were wrong, his jaw too sharp. Gossip travels faster than grief. I didn't even have to fight. The truth did it for me. 2 weeks later, I got the call. The estate was frozen. Neither of us would see a dime until the court finished its review. Daniel showed up at my apartment that night, pounding on the door like a man drowning. When I opened it, he looked nothing like the smug golden child I'd grown up with. His hair was greasy, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes wild. "You ruined me," he spat. "No," I said quietly. "She did. I just stopped covering for her." He laughed, high, broken, desperate. "Do you get it now? We're nothing. Both of us. Bastards. Mistakes. She never wanted either of us." For the first time in my life, I saw him not as the enemy, not as the king, but as what he really was, another abandoned child, clawing for scraps of love that never existed. And for a moment, just a moment, I almost pitied him. But pity doesn't rebuild trust. It doesn't erase decades of cruelty. It doesn't change the fact that he let her erase me from existence while he drank champagne on the ashes. "You want sympathy?" I whispered. "Find it in the bottle. It's where you found everything else." I shut the door on his face. And for the first time in 30 years, I felt free. The court process dragged on for months, but by then, I didn't care. The house, the accounts, the furniture that still smelled faintly of my mother's perfume, none of it mattered anymore. I had already buried the only thing I'd ever wanted from her, the truth. In the end, the estate was divided. The judge didn't side fully with either of us. The house was ordered sold, the money split down the middle, and the rest scattered into probate dust. Daniel screamed in court, red-faced and trembling, but it didn't matter. His crown was gone. His throne was gone. And me? I walked out lighter. For the first time in my life, I didn't need to win. I just needed to be free. That night, I sat on my apartment balcony with the photograph in my hand, the only thing I kept from the attic. The woman with the tired eyes, holding me like I was hers. My real mother. My beginning. I didn't know her story. I didn't know why she gave me up, or what promises were made, or if she ever thought of me after. But I knew this, she hadn't erased me. She hadn't pretended I didn't exist. That was enough. My daughter patted outside, rubbing sleep from her eyes. "Mom? Why are you crying?" I wiped my face quickly. "I'm not crying. Just remembering." She climbed into my lap, small and warm, and I held her tighter than I'd ever held anyone. "Promise me something," I whispered. "What?" "Promise me you'll never doubt that you belong. That you're mine. No matter what." She tilted her head, puzzled. "Of course I'm yours." I kissed her hair, breathing in the simple, perfect truth of it. Family isn't blood. Family isn't wills or bank accounts or golden children with crowns of ash. Family is the people who stay. The ones who don't need a lawyer or a secret to prove it. And as the night settled around us, I realized something my mother never could. Her lies may have written me out of her story, but they could never erase me from my own.